Downtown, I got that heat, let's go. Downtown, I got that heat, let's go.
Yo. Yeah, what up?
What up, man?
Got that radio turned down, dog?
Yeah, I do. Turn way down. I'm listening to your jams, bro.
All flames, dog.
All flames.
What do we got today? The June 8th edition of the SMT podcast with special panel member EM Tech.
What up? How's everyone doing?
You guys know him from the Hollywood movies. You know, if you're looking for him, I think he was in Resident Evil. He was one of the bad guys in the movie. I think he was also in Deep Blue Sea. I think he was eaten by a shark, possibly. Not sure.
He's also featured all three of the original Star Wars movies because, gotta blow up that Death Star, baby.
Oh, phenomenal, man. Let's say some hellos to some peeps out there. Kazi, Tony, Ciprioni Tech, Max Tech Studios in the house. What up, Trex? What up, MS? Glad you guys could be here tonight. TJ is here as well. And Will is in the house. Big Will. And S Blue Tech, my brother. Good to have you guys. Thanks for coming through tonight. 50 in the live chat. And at the time of this broadcast, 8:15 in the PM Eastern time. And a big shout out to those watching us in the live, and then shout out to those that watch it on replay. Not everybody can always catch it on the live edition, but glad you, consuming the content and finding value in what we produce here on the channel. EM Tech, I haven't asked you in a long time, man. Or maybe I've never asked you, actually. Just not. What is your favorite content on my channel? Like, what do you look forward to? What do you find the most value in? And the content you enjoy?
I would have to say the members live stream. So if anybody in the community is not a member or a Patreon member, definitely subscribe because it's lit. It's a good time.
Appreciate that, bro. Thanks for that shout out. Very nice. Nicely done. You know what, Tone? For those of you that have been tracking some of my video content, I've been really, really trying to, keep track of all the upgrades that are going on across the country. People are sending me photos of rural sites getting upgraded. I really, really take a lot of pleasure in learning about those things because Cleveland's basically done. All the carriers have done a really nice job of upgrading. The network's fast. It's very reliable and those types of things from all the carriers. Now it's basically, AT&T and Verizon having to go up to these tower sites and do C-band on their somewhat legacy setups. Like for AT&T, it's not that legacy because they did the FirstNet upgrades. The Verizon upgrades, right? Those are probably the most crucial. And the fact that Verizon has the most customers means that those upgrades are going to be felt, noticed, and appreciated. So Tone's been sharing photos with me. I've shared them before on video content. He just sent me a tower upgrade. Verizon doing CBRS and C-band in the middle of Mansfield, which some of you may know. The movie that was about a prison in Mansfield, I believe. Did you ever see that movie, EM Tech?
I'm not a big movie guy. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, it was like Morgan Freeman and that other dude, and I don't know. It's like world renowned. It's always on TV and stuff. But anyways, there have been some people in my videos that have been commenting. They've been asking about Mansfield. They're like, "Where are the upgrades at?" Well, there you go. It's happening. Yeah,
who pays for live TV anymore? Come on now,
bruh. Apparently, people do because YouTube Live, the live TV edition of YouTube, whatever. They are a growing TV provider, distributor of content, whatever it's called. They're taking basically all of cable's customers. Hulu's got a live TV streaming option. I mean, there's people buying it, man.
Yeah. YouTube TV seems to be the really the only one that sticks. I mean, Sling is kind of dying, along with Dish and Hulu. The only thing I hear about Hulu Live is that people complain about the price. So
I think the worst part about Hulu Live is the geo-lock.
Oh, it is geo-locked?
It's geo-locked. Yeah, so if you have fixed wireless access, you can't even stream.
Oh,
Because
what's the point?
Because you don't get a static IP.
Yeah. And YouTube did something right. They're doing something right with the TV offering. I hope it stays successful, because I think as much as I don't subscribe to the live TV thing, I just don't have time to watch it. I think it's good that there's a good alternative now that cable companies are kind of jacking up the rates on their legacy cable offering. So
I'd be
I
excited
don't know.
to see YouTube TV lose ESPN, and that would reduce the cost of the TV streaming bundle by $20. What do you think of that?
$20 bucks
20
just for ESPN. It's $20.
I swear, bro, ESPN is a $20 channel.
Good Lord.
And ESPN plays it off like they're the bee's knees in sports. Like you can't consume sports content unless you got ESPN, is what they try to convince you of. Right? Max Tech Studios, what up, man? He said at least include free YouTube Premium with that. They could do that, but they'd prefer that you pay for it.
YouTube Premium is a huge revenue stream for them. So
major. And they didn't raise the price on it for years. And I finally did, you know.
I don't even know what I pay. I think I pay like $13, but man, I'll never go back to ad supported YouTube ever.
Yeah,
it's just a creature comfort.
Through Los Mobile, I get YouTube Premium, T-Mobile Tuesdays, Verizon Up, all that stuff. I get it all through Los Mobile right now. Kind of nice.
The GOAT.
Yeah, man. YouTube TV lost MLB already. Yeah, now you got to pay for that. I think it doesn't it come with all these new T-Mobile plans?
Yeah, they've been doing like I don't know if it's like an annual promo that they just keep pulling and bringing back like every summer, but I feel like every year I see some sort of ad for T-Mobile bringing back the the MLB TV or whatever it is. So
you figure they'd have like a long-term deal that keeps them locked in for a decade, but you know.
Yeah, I think they probably yank the promo and then bring it back to like get eyeballs on it, you know. But man, what do you got on the docket for tonight, bro?
We got 3 main things. We're going to be talking mmWave spectrum, a little bit of FCC stuff, going shared or unlicensed. We've got the Boost Mobile and Moto Edge Plus. I want to talk a little bit about that phone. I want to talk a little bit about that network and the offer, and kind of what people can kind of look for as they're shopping for devices, and if they're looking to get into the Dish, suite of brands with like Boost Mobile, Boost Infinite, and such. And then we're definitely going to talk about the Vision Pro headset from Apple. It must be discussed. I got a lot of things I want to kind of break down and unpack about this headset. A lot of it's going to be really forward-looking, but obviously it's something that you have to discuss at some point. You can't ignore the elephant in the room forever. You eventually got to address it. So I want to talk about it.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's going to be the show. Yes, Blue Tech. That's I heard. I heard the hotspot plan for Project Genesis is gone, and a lot of people really wanted it. We're waiting for Project Genesis to open up in their markets. Something tells me it'll be back, but it'll be back at a higher price. And $20 was an insane value. I don't even know how to describe how good of a value that is. I mean, if you're using a Netgear, a Nighthawk, which you can essentially run through a router, it would replace your home internet. Right? You could use hundreds of gigs of data. And since you'd be on native Dish, right, it wouldn't be an issue. If you're on AT&T, that's a problem, which might be kind of why they saw some of that and all part of the beta testing. That's what they wanted to see. Okay, let's cover this first one. First story should be up right here. All right, so EM Tech, I've been really critical about the FCC. I have felt for the last several generations and iterations of this commission I felt like they've dropped the ball on multiple occasions. And no institution is perfect. I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that I would do a better job. I most likely could not do a better job. There's a lot of politics at play. There's a lot of industries that are constantly, politicking for their advantages and such. So when I am critical of the FCC, I just want what's best for the American people. You know what I mean? And there have been times and moments where I think they've done a pretty good job. And there have been some blatant and apparent and flagrant shortcomings, right? Like if I was going to be critical of today's FCC, why the hell don't we have a fifth commissioner? It's been like 3 years. Literally, we're going on year 3, and we still don't have a fifth commissioner, right? That's a problem. Another problem is spectrum. Who gets it? Which industries, right? Is it going to go licensed or unlicensed? Are we going to see more auctions? What's coming down the spectrum pipeline? All the things that go on with mergers and acquisitions. And so there's all this stuff, so it's definitely not a linear thing. It's a really messy, murky thing that they have to navigate. But this one, I think we can both agree. Well, at least me. I don't want to speak for you. I'll let you speak for yourself. More millimeter wave coming to the market is a win. All right. What's your take on just kind of the introduction there?
As long as it's not unlicensed, it's a win.
Oh, damn. Well, here we go.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. The FCC plans to explore whether 500 megahertz of millimeter wave spectrum between 42 and 42.5 gigahertz can be made available to wireless providers on a shared basis. Spectrum could be well suited for use by smaller wireless providers, according to the commission. Okay, so that's super high frequency, 42 gigahertz. That's really, really high. But what they're trying to do here is come up with a new model to lower barriers, encourage competition, and maximize the opportunities in millimeter wave spectrum. This is according to FCC Chair Jessica Rosenworcel, the lady. Let's see here. So 42 to 42.5 gigahertz band has no existing operations, so there's no incumbent. It, however, does have radio astronomy users. I didn't know that. Okay, so that's cool. I guess they would have to figure out what the power levels are going to be and such, all the technical aspects of it. Nationwide non-exclusive licensing approach. Licenses would apply for such a license with the commission, then coordinate and register specific deployment sites with a third-party database. They could do a site-based licenses approach, in which licenses would apply for each deployment site directly to the commission, or they could have a technology-based sensing approach in which operators could employ certain technologies to avoid harmful interference from one another without the use of registration database. These spectrum licenses would be divided into 5 100 megahertz channels. All right, EM Tech, your worst nightmare, sir. This would be shared. What's your take, man?
I mean, I don't understand the FCC's. I understand giving the smaller ISPs and providers opportunities to acquire and use spectrum, but the shared model has been proven time and time again, especially with CBRS, that it's not effective. I mean, the biggest complaint that every single person has about CBRS is the range, and that's due to the power limitations and all of the legal jargon around the SAS system. And I know people in the industry don't like it. Obviously, the end user doesn't like it because they don't see what they expected throughput. I just give us more licensed spectrum and let companies bid for it, man. That's all I ask.
So here's my take, right? The way I look at it is commercial networks, those that the mobile network operators build, they deploy large scale. they put the spectrum on air basically immediately for the most part. I will argue that the millimeter wave has really been a letdown from the big carriers, with the exception of Verizon. AT&T has been very spotty with its millimeter wave deployments, and T-Mobile's basically non-existent. So that's been very frustrating to kind of watch how that's played out. But when I'm kind of looking at just spectrum auctions in general, I think it's a really easy solution. The FCC should adopt a 2-for-1. You kind of know where I'm going with this, EM Tech?
Elaborate for me.
I think they should structure a spectrum pipeline. For every one unlicensed spectrum decision, like this one, for example, I want 2 commercial license auctions. So for mobile network operators, and I want the 2 to be in adjacent bands right outside of whatever's going to go unlicensed, right? So let's say unlicensed, for 20 megahertz or 21 megahertz, 21 gigahertz, 20 gigahertz or something. I want 2 auctions for spectrum licenses outside of that frequency. So that way we have similar frequencies available commercially and for, unlicensed usage as well. The thing about it is the FCC would have to very carefully plan, conduct, execute, and prepare a spectrum pipeline. You have to start looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road. That's where the FCC has struggled. That's where the FCC comes into problems. If we take a look at C-band, C-band has been a thing since 2015. When they were auctioning AWS, there were meetings on C-band. Right? When is the spectrum going to be available? When are we going to decommission it from satellite? How are they going to repack it? How are we going to auction this? What's going to be the format? Those meetings and decisions were made from like 2016 to 2018. Look how long it takes to conduct a proper auction that they knew was going to be very valuable, right? Don't sleep on $90 billion, right? They knew it was going to be a very big auction because of the spectrum starvation that the industry had for basically the 5 previous years. AWS was never going to be enough. The 600 megahertz for T-Mobile is never going to be enough. These carriers need licenses. The usage on the networks is astronomical, and it grows every year. Twofold. It grows on a per user basis, and it grows on a total user basis. More and more people having more than one device used for different use cases. Now we got fixed wireless access. You see where I'm going with this, Ian?
Yeah, I see where you're going with it now.
This has to be a 2-for-1. One set of frequencies that you're going to put up for, public use and unlicensed. It has to be matched +1 for commercial utilization because of the usage. There's no way that Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile are going to be able to build networks for mixed reality without more spectrum. For more fixed wireless, right? That we're expecting T-Mobile to end up with 8 million subscribers? Dude, could you imagine how much spectrum is going to be required to support a family, right? We're going to go from 2, 3, 4, 5 million subs to double that. And then their usage is going to go from 700-800 gigs to probably 2 teras 5 years from now. You know what I'm saying? And these networks are going to get better. And customers are going to use them for new things. We need spectrum. And I think we got to have it in a 2-for-1. All right, so now what do you think of my proposal?
I mean, I think that's a good way to look at it, just across the board, whether we're talking about millimeter wave or sub-6 or even somewhere, whatever, 12 gigahertz. But, I mean, the reality is there's only one carrier that's made themselves very clear on being, adamant on millimeter wave, and it's Verizon. I mean, even if we start auctioning off all of this potential millimeter wave spectrum, I mean, I don't want to see us end up in another Dish situation where a company buys it and then squats on it for 10 years before they actually use it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the most important thing when it comes to these spectrum auctions is like pertinent, like deadlines. You know, you have 18
Accountability
months to get this
deadlines,
on
right?
air. Yes, accountability. Because it's not fair to the rest of the industry and all the other players in the industry for you to buy and just sit on it and not use it, which is the worst. That is honestly one of the biggest problems we have, other than the fragmented spectrum in the sub-6 range. But I would like to see that be a guideline going forward.
So with every successful auction, there should be a construct of, you got X amount of time to get this deployed across X number of pops, or we could just call them markets, right? Whatever, PAs, however their license end up with them. And I'll be honest with you, man, I really don't even want there to be a penalty in its monetary form. You know what I want, right?
What's that?
I want it to be taken from them. You can lose your spectrum, and then someone else can pay for it. Because these carriers will probably just eat up the fines. They'll look at it like a business expense. But if you take it from them and then you impose it to another company, you can re-auction it, you could do whatever. There's got to be some amount of accountability, right? These carriers got to be culpable for building out the spectrum that they purchase. Who's been more guilty of that than Dish, right? Just from in the past, they've viewed themselves as a holdings company. Now they got to build a network, and had they have started this 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, when their main core business started failing, and visibly we could see it happening. See, it's not Dish didn't wake up one morning in like the last month and realize that their TV business was failing. They've been seeing the writing on the wall for a long time. The subscriber growth stalled, and then it was losses. So them squatting made no sense. They should have been building. They should have been putting together tower deals. They've kind of been wasting time. And I think T-Mobile is culpable too, in my opinion, EM Tech. You may agree or disagree, but I think T-Mobile's lack of millimeter wave build is it's alarming, right? And the reason I say it's alarming is because they need it. There are places where T-Mobile's network is literally congested. Like a lot of people say, T-Mobile's got band or Verizon's got band 13 only sites, blah, 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 congested. Well, imagine a T-Mobile site that has congestion issues, and it's got all of their spectrum that's sub 6 gigahertz up. But they refuse to put up millimeter wave because it's not cost effective. Well, what the hell do you have the millimeter wave licenses for? They got some licenses through Sprint. They got some licenses, and I don't know if it was like Auction 103 or whatever it was back in like 2018. They basically launched 7 markets of millimeter wave, and then they turned their back on the whole project, and they literally left it off on the back burner for the last several years. And we still haven't really seen a concentrated millimeter wave build or CRAN build from T-Mobile to any scale, and we're hoping we see that change soon. And Radio, I've talked to you before about this. You've been impressed with how millimeter wave works off of macros.
Absolutely.
Can you share some of your experiences with this? Radio, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Tell the listeners a little bit about how you've seen the arrangements on the macros and what the performance is like.
The performance is amazing. I mean, you're talking about getting 3 times the coverage area when millimeter wave is on macro. Sometimes even around buildings where you would have been blocked from a street level node, you're still getting it quarter mile out sometimes if you're right in line of sight. So it's very impressive.
See, I'm still shocked that more carriers' sites haven't received it because I think now more than ever we're seeing more of the tower sites with 10 gig fiber circuits. If you got a 10 gig fiber circuit, you could put millimeter wave to that, and I think it's good enough.
Yeah, I believe. Well, as far as watching the carriers, it seems like Verizon goes. They go 10 gig when it's their fiber. They don't always go 10 gig when it ain't theirs.
Right.
And T-Mobile in my area, seems to only be going 10 gig where there's a lot of traffic and not on every site. So,
yeah, I've been able to find a handful of sites with 10 gig from T-Mobile. Verizon's got a really good MCI build here. So
yep.
Most sites are, 10 gig fiber fed. AT&T is the ILEC here, so they've got tons of capacity for their fiber. It's not an issue.
But I see but Verizon still hasn't blessed you with macro millimeter wave yet.
There's only a few sites.
Okay, yeah, I'm up to 5 that I've spotted in the area. It's about 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah, I can drive to a site right now, and it's a rooftop macro, and it's got millimeter wave up top. It's by that Walmart. You've seen my videos on it. Yep. There's one that's like by I don't know if you know the Kmart brand. Remember that back in the day?
Oh yes.
It used to be a Kmart, but now it's like this giant plaza, and it's got a bunch of stores and a lot of traffic. It's just a big intersection. They've got macro, rooftop, and it's got everything up there: millimeter wave, C-band, CBRS, the whole shebang. But it's less common. They like doing the street level millimeter wave here. They really do.
Yeah, I think
they
here
own the poles. It's not a thing for them.
Yeah, what's funny here is the main sites. There's one site that has millimeter wave on the macro, but there's also street level. But the majority of the rest don't have street level in that immediate area. So it's like they're being selective about street level with that.
If you got a 10 gig fiber on a site, are you putting millimeter wave on it?
Absolutely. 100%.
See, that's how I'm looking at it, right?
100%, because that's going to offload. I mean, if you got anywhere where there's like a festival area, you might be more effective probably putting millimeter wave on a macro that's line of sight to the grounds, like a concert grounds or something like that, versus putting 5 and 6 small nodes up. You got an existing macro, like the Greensboro Coliseum is one that has, there's one across the street from it that has it. It's perfect when they have they used to have like a carnival out in the parking lot. That right there would soak up all the carnival traffic. Or when they do car shows out there in the parking lot, perfect for it to be on the macro versus the street level, because you might be 1,000 feet plus behind 200 tents in a parking lot trying to get the small cell to work. Whereas that macro is just beaming over you. I mean, it's out there. So,
yeah, and it's going to get to it's good enough to get, through 1,000 feet of coverage from a macro. It's not an issue.
Yep.
I think additionally, what you're looking at here in this situation is if you can get even higher capacity fiber, you can go multi frequencies for millimeter wave, right? There are certain carriers that have, like I know Verizon has, I think it's 24 gigahertz or 28. It's one or the other. And they have the 39 gigahertz here. So if you got 2 different frequencies for millimeter wave, you would just, in that case, right, like the festival or whatever, or you got a concert venue where you frequently have like summer shows, you would do that. You'd put up the gear for it.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, and I think in like downtown areas, how hard is it to get a 50 gig circuit?
Not hard at all. You're going to have multiple fiber options usually.
That's
I don't think
expensive.
Yeah, but
I know
it's a major venue though, right?
Like if you look at downtown Greensboro, every rooftop site could have it and have it beaming into the area because there's MCI, AT&T, and Spectrum Fiber, and CenturyLink Fiber in that same area. You got many options. So
yeah, but the thing is that there's only 2 carriers who are going to be able to scale capacity like that effectively and quickly and cost effectively. AT&T and Verizon.
Absolutely.
They're the only ones that are really at the table for that. I don't see how T-Mobile can play ball there.
No, I mean they're already. I mean, think about it. They've got this massive push to get 10 gig circuits to all their macro sites, and they're already laying people off to cut costs. So
yeah,
that looks bad.
It's not a good look.
Yeah. Yep, it looks bad.
But I don't know. I heard some rumors about my market particularly that T-Mobile's planning to push for a millimeter wave build up, but they don't own any millimeter waves. Well, they don't own enough millimeter wave spectrum to make it viable. They own 200 megahertz. In the
They got more than
39
200 megahertz in their mid frequencies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They do.
So
Yeah, they want.
think
I
of
think they want 800 here, or is it? No, it's 600 here. I think it is. Yeah, something like that.
but
I think
think
that's what
about
they
that.
own here too.
Think about that. So they want to build. They want to start a millimeter wave build. That means that they're going to have to lease spectrum from another operator, on top of already having to lease the fiber circuits to the sites. Like, that's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
No owner's economics, baby.
Yeah, but it's still the cost of doing business. Your network's going to tank.
Well, it's just T-Mobile's
So let
gonna
me-
start running into a pinch.
So let me ask you something, EM. Am I supposed to, when the bakery gets busy and I get a bus of 50 people or 100 people that walk into the store, am I supposed to just close the door and just kick them out? Or
No,
should I be able to, find ways to host all those people into my store?
But would you do it at the risk of your bottom line? Like,
How bad could a few sites be that really need this?
Well,
How bad could it really be?
well, we know there's two ways of doing something. You either sell a large amount, or you sell a small amount for a high price. Most large businesses that we know sell large amounts at low prices, and how they scale bigger. So I mean, you might not, for somebody like T-Mobile, they may not be able to maximize profit, but if they can maximize how much of the product they sell, they might be able to at least break even in some ways.
You can't be known as the crappy carrier at a venue. That looks really bad for the network. You're literally going to get people to switch. Like if I live in a town and I'm frequently experiencing bogged down congestion and horrible experiences, anytime I go out to one of these venues, dude, that's going to stick out. It's going to be a sore spot in my experience. I'm going to say, well, every time I go to a football game, every time I go to a concert,
like
every time I go to the convention center, why does T-Mobile suck?
They don't design it right at all. I mean, I know that their solution when it comes to football stadiums and concert venues is just it's the bare minimum. And then when they realize they don't have enough capacity for the crowd, they kind of circle back after the event is done and try to refix it for next year. Versus
fixing it involves what, like an indoor DAS, outdoor DAS?
It involves that. It involves small cells. It involves open RAN. It involves a lot of things. Or you can be proactive about the situation and kind of plan for it, like Verizon does, and they don't have that problem. It's just it's about how much money you want to put into these venues. Like, for example, the DJ concert that Moose was at in Miami, right?
Crazy.
That's a perfect example of not planning for your capacity needs. When I was at Verizon, like I'm not sure how but we get the notices right for the events months and months and months and months and months in advance. We know about them, right? So
can it be budgeted? Can it be?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. There are budgets for it. But again, it's who has the bigger budget, right? So, and how important is it? There you go. And how important is it to you as a customer?
Looks like C-band up there, dog. A millimeter wave.
See, it's funny you show that, Sneed, because Verizon tanked during March Madness, and the week after they put that same thing in the parking lot right there, and the network was still tanked. Now the site got upgraded in the parking lot of the Coliseum.
I mean, This is
They
this is about as good as you can get for a venue. Millimeter wave, CBRS, 3 Matsing ball antennas for LTE, and I'm assuming you can do AT C-band on that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is the creme de la creme when it comes to like venue stuff. And the guy who tweeted this picture out said T-Mobile not present at the venue.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
there's companies who know how to do it. There's companies who don't.
Yeah, I mean, you really got to pick your battles, right? And the good thing about like Verizon's doing is they're kind of killing two birds with one stone. They're providing coverage, and it's like a marketing opportunity. You know, you want to go to concerts, you want to go to football games. Well, Verizon's there, T-Mobile not there. You know, so
I guess it's safe to say Verizon underestimated March Madness.
Yeah, they definitely did.
it does happen.
Sounds like
Yep.
Because I'll probably bet that if you were directly in front of this, because the way they had it set up, it was facing the Coliseum, and it had a C-band panel and it had millimeter wave. So I guess if you were in the parking lot, you were fine. But if you at all the tailgaters in the surrounding parking lots, they tanked all the macros in the area. So basically, if you were in the venue, you were fine. If you were outside the venue, you were screwed.
Well, this is why I think what they do in Vegas is the most impressive thing. We get to see this here in Cleveland too. They do a small cell in the parking lot. And they also have like all the indoor stuff too, or the stuff that's in the Coliseum. Right. So because you got it, you're trying to keep them off the macros. You know, so you literally just split cells. Yeah, you just split cells to keep the users within their segment. Like, oh, hey, we got 60, 70,000 people here. You know, we got 10,000 people outside. Let's just create all these different sites. What else can you do?
I mean, the small cells, they're way, way faster to put up. You know, it's like tentacles on a, you know, that you're just putting up. That's pretty much all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't I don't understand what T-Mobile does sometimes. Like, I got a buddy who lives in Phoenix, and you know, they had the massive build out for the Super Bowl. Verizon went in and put a bunch of permanent sites up. AT&T, same thing. T-Mobile put up a temporary macro, had fiber buried to it, and then took the site down after the Super Bowl was done. Like, just a waste of time and a waste of money. Like, if you're gonna go through the effort of densifying and adding capacity to your network, make it permanent. You know, that blows my mind.
What up, B? What up?
What a nice picture that I walk into. What's up, guys? That's a great picture, man.
Good inside, make it feel warm in the heart.
Yeah,
so the difference between like Verizon and T-Mobile is that one of the main differences is that they will put either a permanent, usually at the football stadiums, or a mobile command center, right? So the command center is the operating base to say, oh, okay, this is what our nodes look like. This is how much, you know, traffic we have on the network. Yeah, it's kind of cool because you actually get to monitor. I've been in one. You actually get to monitor the traffic live. Obviously, you know, for example, from kickoff, or like when touchdowns are scored and so on. So,
what an opportunity! I'd love to do that someday.
Yeah, the one they did in Greensboro wasn't this fancy as this picture. It wasn't this fancy.
Are you guys ready for the main story?
Let's move it and shake it, bro.
We have a main story. Oh, yes, I am.
Here it is, Zero Cool.
Oh my God!
Here it is.
I was hoping you would pick a different main story than that, but okay.
This is the main story. No.
I do have a commentary for that too.
All right. Earlier this week, I think it was Monday, Apple announced the Vision Pro at WWDC, their big annual event for their like web developer conference. And they announced this and they made it official. It's coming to market. They showed some video footage of the Vision Pro, mixed reality eyewear, facewear, glasswear. I don't even know what the hell to call it. Its design is, you know, looks like AR, VR glasses or goggles or whatever. It's one single assembly. They call it the Vision Pro. and it's supposed to be the next really big hardware thing for them, providing people with unique experiences in augmented reality and virtual reality. And you'll kind of see the video footage here from the website of what it's designed to do. Kind of create this interactive environment and giving you that experience. Here's some additional stuff that they were showing on how to use it and how the hardware looks. You can kind of see where the cable is, how it connects, how it sits on your head and stuff. And that's kind of weird and awkward to a lot of people, I'm sure, right? Putting on a headset like this and then just like staring off in front of you. This I thought was kind of cool. They're showing like actual functionality, like scrolling up with your fingers, right? She does a little flicky thingy, and then it pulls up all of her shows or whatever. And then you kind of get this like immersive, virtual reality experience with the content. Right. So here's this video footage kind of showing like being immersed within the experience of, high resolution, high frame rate, video immersion or whatever. And I don't know, the thing's priced at like $3,499.
Hope it comes with some forward resistance.
Yeah, it's expensive. In my opinion, it kind of just looks like it looks like the watch a little bit. The Apple Watch, but like, it's strapped in front of your face. Let's click on take a closer look. You guys can see the setup there, what it looks like. It's definitely not all that attractive, but you can see the sensors in there, right? Because you got to have what accelerometer, gyroscope. It's going to have a crap ton of camera lenses in there and sensors.
Surprised they don't put like a blood pressure sensor in there.
A monitor, right? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that, I think. And then here's kind of like you can see the.
Can't wait for the first lawsuit. Someone that dies from a VR headset.
Yeah, here's kind of how it sits on your face. Kind of got like a Star Wars look to it. All right, let's see if I can click on this photo. Shows you guys kind of the underside there, where the pins are and where the controls are. And there's that. Anything else worth noting? Looks like some kind of a sensor there on that side. Top button power. All right, and there's the charging connection. It kind of looks like a MagSafe kind of setup. So what Apple's probably hoping is they need apps. Right? They need developers to create applications to use this device in order for them to sell it. And those apps need to be optimized with the headset. In my opinion, this headset's going to be completely experimental. It's the first consumer grade headset that they're producing. So there's quality issues that could be, something that comes down the pipeline, failures, how good is the battery life going to be? Degradation over time. Is this thing durable? How are kids going to use it? I mean, there's so many different things, man. But the first thing I thought about was this is generation 1. It's obviously an experiment. A lot of the problems with Gen 1 will be fixed in Gen 2. Price and cost will obviously come down. The bill of materials will be a little bit lower. I'd bet that Gen 2 is going to be probably $2,000, right? It's going to go from probably $34.99 to probably $19.99. I think there's going to be that steep of a drop off. And I don't know if Gen 2 is going to be ready next year. I think Gen 2 is probably 2 years away. I don't think they have a Gen 2 ready or even a prototype ready. I think they're about 2 years out from that. So in my opinion, this is just a step in a direction of whatever this new hardware is going to be and what it does for experiences for people. Am I going to buy one of these? Hell no. I will not. I have better things to spend my money on, but I'm sure there are some wealthy people who would like to get their hands on this and test it and use it. Okay, so now that I got all that out of the way, you guys can have at it. What are your thoughts and opinions on the headset, all the details we discussed, and what do you guys think of this thing?
Well, I just want to understand what the connectivity is on this thing. I mean, I was looking when you were looking at the pictures, when you were showing the pictures, Sneed, I didn't see a SIM card slot or anything like that. Is it Wi-Fi only, or how is it connecting?
It's Wi-Fi only.
Yeah, that's probably an important thing to discuss. Thanks, we appreciate it. It's going to be Wi-Fi only. There's no LTE or 5G radios in terms of hardware.
Whack is $3,000 for a Wi-Fi only device.
$34.99, sir.
34. That's even worse. Jeez, man. For Wi-Fi only? Yeah, what's up with that, Apple?
It's got to be on the Wi-Fi, dog.
On the Wi-Fi.
It's got to be on the Wi-Fi.
That's unfortunate. I wonder what led them to that decision. Why they would do that?
Gen 1, man. You know,
Upsell for Gen 2.
Yeah, design, engineering, bill of materials. I mean, it's already $34.99.
I mean, if you're gonna upsell it, and it's gonna be 2,000 instead of 34. It's not an upsell anymore. I mean, you would think that part of the, I guess, advantage of having this is the ability to be able to use it in multiple places and not just in a place where you have, Wi-Fi at the house or something like that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Hopefully, in the
speaking
next generation, so you have that.
Speaking of the networking on this, I mean, this thing is going to be bandwidth hungry. Like, think about it, right? You're going to have extremely high refresh rate. You're going to have really, really low latency to have a good experience on this thing. And like zero jitter is going to be a must. You got to have a good network for this. So what are we talking here? We're going to be talking about fiber-based networks.
I happen to know a company pretty good with fiber.
But you get what I'm saying? I think that's got to be the answer here, because you're going to need a lot of capacity. Like this is because it's doing downstream, it's doing upstream simultaneously, right? Because it's AR and VR, and it's going to be high resolution. Guys, what do you think? A dedicated connection. Do you guys think this thing needs 100 megabit downstream, 100 megabit upstream?
It needs more than that, actually. Basically, I kind of quoted out like at least 2 to 500, depending on what's available and what apps that they create. But like this stuff is like coming to market faster than what we're ready for. Okay, I'll say it again. This stuff's coming to market faster than we're ready for. Basically, the AR, VR, the Vision Pro, right? And then you're going to have eventually the VX, right, which is going to be your 5G in vehicles. The reason why we're creating so many small cells is to get prepared for this. But the problem right now is that we don't have enough small cells to support this. Like, say, if somebody actually put like a 5G chip in here, because I guarantee you're going to have eventually the next step is a bunch of teenagers walking around downtown with this stinking, yes, this is what's happening. This is the next step, right? So we're in these freaking goggles, right? So
EM Tech, let me ask you something, EM Tech.
What up?
Do we have networks that can support this?
I mean, no.
See, Zero Cool? That's where I'm at. I don't think we have networks.
No, of course not. And that's what I'm saying. This is why I said earlier, they're bringing something now to the table that we're not ready for. Okay, so it's going to get a lot worse, because the next thing after the cars get the 5G radios and stuff in it, the self-driving cars and whatnot. The next step is actually to put the what we call self-immersion, which is exactly what this is, inside the vehicle. So basically, you're not necessarily, I don't know how really they're going to do it, but let's just say you're not going to need the goggles necessarily in your vehicle. You'll be able to use the goggles when you're outside of your vehicle. Something along those lines, right? It's just going to get really, really bad. Like Apple's just lighting the match, as they say. Okay, so think about, we're gonna have to. It's going to have constant connectivity, like repeaters up the wazoo, dots, everything, right? So, yeah, I feel I feel sorry for children right now, because they're not going to have much of a social life. So, please, do not get your kid one of these things. I just, I feel bad, because I mean, it's like, because when I was, at a certain company, I was, kind of designing the VX for the cars. At that point, but guess what? Cars are next. So, but I just don't think we have the infrastructure yet ready for it. This is why all these things are going to be on Wi-Fi for the very short term. Long term, it's going to be over a 5 or 6G
Not just any
connection.
Wi-Fi, right? Like this thing's gonna be better suited for 6E or Wi-Fi 7, right?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely Wi-Fi 7, and eventually 6. It's going to need. It's definitely going to need 6G, because if you're talking, constant zero latency AR, VR, VX immersion, you're going to need a terahertz frequency that you're going to be able to do that wherever you're at. So, at least when I did the math on it. Yeah, go ahead.
As I say, this begs the question of if our current Wi-Fi standards are even up to snuff. Like I was talking to someone in the community about potentially the Wi-Fi standard kind of evolving to include like high band frequencies, like millimeter wave type stuff.
Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah, you're exactly right. Because I mean, if you guys think about it, your 5 gigahertz, it only goes so far, and the bandwidth on it, the bandwidth's pretty good, but then again, it only goes up, as high as what your broadband connection can support. So the reality is you're going to have these high speed, 5G and 6G connections running at 4 or 10 gigabytes, whatever. You're going to need a Wi-Fi system that supports that.
So no radio. Can current cable companies, the major ones, the regional ones, AT&T Fiber, Frontier, Altice, Suddenlink, whoever, just name any commercial network that's out there that's available to residential or even business. Can they support these types of use cases today? Think gateways, think routers, think access points, the whole shebang.
I have more questions than answers.
Okay, so you're like me.
So my question is, what is the specific application use that requires the high bandwidth?
It's the mixed reality. It's AR, VR.
So like be more specific though.
We're probably talking almost 4K resolution.
3D. That's definitely, so everything is going to be like in 3D, kind of like you're looking at like a 3D hologram that you can interact with.
What do you think the refresh rate is?
You're saying out in the world. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, like, that, yeah. See, the thing is that what's going to be coming down the pipe, which this is even worse. Imagine putting on these goggles, and let's say you go to a restaurant. Well, guess what? The restaurant is going to provide content for you to interact with a virtual menu, a virtual even stinking assistant that takes your order, and hopefully a robot that brings you your food.
but what year are we talking about seeing that?
No, this is the problem. That's what I said earlier. This technology is coming faster than what we are ready for. And please, for the love of God, we need to have, if we're doing this, which Apple is lighting the match, unfortunately, we need to have more infrastructure. I'm talking about like EV chargers. We need like 5G, 6G everywhere. Like this is, it's one thing to like bring about technology, but it's one thing to push it when you're not ready. Can you imagine if Apple said, "Oh, this takes 5G," it wouldn't be able to work anywhere. So
you still got people stuck on DSL, dog.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna tell you what stock to buy when this comes out.
Right.
whatever a Unilever that owns the Vaseline brand. That's what's gonna be flying off the shelf.
I think the one of the apps is a Kardashian app that you can load.
I'm just saying, am I wrong? Because we know what people are doing with these VR sets. Okay.
Oh man, see, you're terrible, dog.
Hey, I'm just being real. Look, somebody's gonna buy it and say they're gonna use it for all this extra stuff, and then they're just gonna do weird stuff with it. Let's just be real.
I mean, you could have a virtual wedding. You don't even need to have your family in from out of town. Just do it all virtually.
Yeah, but that's the wedding, and then there might not be another wedding for 2 years. So it's more likely that the weirdos are going to get this and do weird things with it. Let's just be real.
It kind of reminds me of the movie Pixels a bit,
Yeah. All right, quote of the night came from No Radio. Weird people doing weird things, yo.
Hashtag get some Vaseline.
Get some stock in the Vaseline brand. That's all I'm saying.
So horrible.
Sales probably gonna go up.
Vaseline and Kleenex.
Yep.
Anybody buying one of these?
No,
Anybody
it's too
on the panel?
expensive. I think the price is too expensive.
I mean,
Me
people
too.
will purchase it. People will purchase it. Like Steve said, there are some wealthy people out there who will get it. But I'm encouraged that it's here. If you want the use cases, you got to build the product. If you want the infrastructure to improve, all that kind of stuff, you got to put something on it. At the end of the day, nobody's going to build all this great stuff and not have any use cases. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. So for me, this seems like progress, and it seems like more reason to continue to build. Because for a long time, well, not maybe not for a long time, but there have been questions that have been asked in relation to why even build 6G when it looks like carriers collectively are having challenges getting increased value out of 5G. I mean, we got people who are trying to again pay $15 for gigabit speeds. So you got to create the use cases. You got to create the development. You got to do all these things before you can then ask the infrastructure creators to go create the infrastructure needed to support these things. It's
No,
got to
man,
be.
you got it wrong,
it's-
dog. You got it wrong, homie. You got people not wanting to pay more money for something that isn't getting better. Their experience isn't changing.
That's
It is,
true.
well, it is
If their
getting better. I
if
mean,
their
we have,
experience was better, they'll pay for it.
But
That's the way it works.
but it is better. I mean, people are getting gigabit speeds, and they weren't getting that 3 or 4 years ago. So it is getting
Nah.
better.
No,
But it's
the
just, there's got to be.
networks have been congested as the clientele base has increased.
Yeah, it's not
You're
fast
just
enough. We're not
alleviating
adding capacity fast enough.
All right, guys.
All I'm saying is this would be a situation where a network operator could potentially monetize because
Well,
it's
that's what I
a
was
new
saying,
use case, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, like so as the use cases come, then of course the rollout would probably get faster because it incentivizes increased innovation, increased investment. But if the use cases aren't there, the investment's going to eventually stagnate. So to me, this is definitely a good thing. It provides the encouragement to continue investing in infrastructure needed to support these types of innovations. I think it's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Question for you guys. Why the hell doesn't Samsung have an answer for this already?
Actually, I had the answer to that. I know they're working on one, but from the reports that I've been reading, they say that the chip in there is not
good
ready
enough?
yet.
Yeah. We got our first super chat of the eve. Thank you, S Blue Tech. Might take a look into purchasing it. These headsets offer a good use case for those of us that are visually impaired, such
True.
as when needing visual assistance with certain tasks. Wow.
Very true.
Yeah.
And that type of use case probably wouldn't be as bandwidth intensive as some of the other things that you guys were alluding to earlier. So I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, things like this, hardware like this, is limitless. Oftentimes, it's pretty limitless. So you can do a lot with it.
The ceiling is high.
And it just incentivizes more investment into the infrastructure. So I'm hopeful that the government continues along the path of these public-private partnerships because it's clearly working. People are clearly getting connected. There's more connectivity available across the country than it ever has been in the nation's history. So there's been significant progress, and it's been very, very fast. We're talking about since the beginning of the pandemic until now. So it always kind of, grinds my gears a little bit when people talk about, we're not there, we're not. Okay, yeah, I mean, that's true. We're not. It's a never-ending race. We're never going to be there, whatever there is. But there's been significant progress that's been made over the last 3 to 4 years where we have more people connected in the country than ever before with consistently, reliable speeds oftentimes. Most people are, getting more than they ever have. So I certainly don't want to, forget about the significant progress that's been made.
So, B, you missed the first part of the podcast earlier where me and Ian were talking about the FCC and Spectrum.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and we were talking about millimeter wave.
Okay, cool,
right?
cool.
So, Zero Cool, you're an RF guy, no radio. This is, you're all about this life, right? B, you've got experience in this industry as well with respect to RF and stuff like that, so you know what type of investment and what type of technology it takes with respect to networking. This, if we're taking the show on the road, meaning if you take these goggles and you leave your home network, right, you're going to need access to a legitimately high capacity, ultra low latency network, right? In
Yep.
order to do that, the FCC needs a pipeline of spectrum. Like, when I mean pipeline, I mean like every year or two we need an auction.
I agree completely.
Like,
But
and
I
I'm
mean,
not even
yes.
I'm not talking like sub 2 gigahertz and stuff. Those days are done. We are moving on to these higher frequencies. It's the only way to do this.
Yeah,
And
24 gigahertz on up.
EMTech, we were talking about millimeter wave. It was 42 gigahertz, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you're very, very correct, Steve. You're right. It's just going to take the American people caring enough to get on their elected officials to
But
actually
this is
care
going to
about
be
the
on the
FCC.
FCC. The
I mean, very
FCC
true.
has to.
Very true.
It's
Very true.
it's like you call for recess, and all the kids are running out to the playground, and they got nothing to play with. They need toys, man.
Yeah.
They need footballs. They need basketballs. They need hoops. They need a swing set. They need a jungle gym. They need slides. These network operators, builders, they need the spectrum.
Yep. But I mean, it's on the American people. At the end of the day, the FCC is a portion of the government, so they represent us.
They had
And
their spectrum authority removed, man.
Exactly.
That
And
was Congress, dog.
and Congress has to restore it. So again, elected officials and who they work for. So if we're
Us.
not if we're not doing our jobs, if we're not contacting our elected officials to talk to them about very important issues like this, then we're not doing our part either collectively. And that's the part that I take issue with, because people like to sit back and they like to talk and they like to do a lot of it. That's great. But there has to be boots to the ground. There has to be action. And it's very, very simple to send an email or to make a phone call. And let elected officials know how important it is that they not kick the can down the road on stuff like the FCC having the ability to conduct auctions. Very, very simple for them to snap their fingers and make that a thing. They haven't done it yet, and it's because elected officials don't seem to care, because the American people don't seem to care. They barely even talk about it on the news. It's not even a
on
topic of
radar.
discussion.
No,
Yeah.
it's not even. They'd rather talk about other things that are infinitesimal and don't even really mean anything.
Yeah,
No
man.
radio. What do we need, man? What kind of spectrum we talking? What's going to be required to make this type of thing happen here, large scale?
Well, we need two things. We need exactly what you mentioned. We need more auctions, but we also need carriers not to be sitting on spectrum as well.
Yep, we got some squatters, man.
Mm-hmm. We need that too. You can auction all you want, but if you ain't even deployed the old spectrum yet, then what you need this new one for already?
Well, I mean, it's a symbiotic type of relationship, because the use cases have to be there and the profitability has to be there too. Nobody works for free, so
yeah,
there's that as well. So I agree with you. That's definitely true, but it has to make sense financially. The carriers, I'm sure they aren't in the business of just making these great networks for people to pay $15. So like the use cases have to be there, and the money has to be there too. So I mean, again, all of it is part of the ecosystem. And for me, if the American people care about these types of innovations and they want us to continue down this path as a country, then we got to act like it. Like put the money where the mouth is, and put the boots to the ground, and make the calls and make the emails. Do what we got to do. And I know that's asking too much, because Americans don't really like to do that consistently, but we probably should try to start doing that.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, for companies like even T-Mobile, for example, in my market, they went heavy on DoD, right? To me, if another auction comes out for 3.1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they shouldn't be allowed to participate in that if they ain't even deploy what they have.
I agree.
You see, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I mean, I ain't really talking so much about price point. It's just we can't just have. Basically, it gets to the point where these carriers are starting to buy stuff just so the other one don't have it, not to actually deploy it.
I agree.
So
we need legal framework in place to prevent another Dish situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that starts with competent leadership being elected by the American people. But hey, man, hey,
man.
I don't want to cast any aspersions on anybody's political views or anything. It's really not about that. It's really just about people being consistently engaged in the political process because it affects every aspect of our lives, including connectivity. It matters. And we got to act like it matters instead of just doing a bunch of talking. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think Pete's right. I think the 3.1 gigahertz could work on the same radio and antenna as the DoD. I think he's right.
Yeah, I can.
Zero Cool, what do you want to see, man?
Yeah, we need to get moving on this because China is probably going to kick our butts again if we don't. So
we haven't heard any China talk since the Sprint and T-Mobile merger. Things have been pretty quiet on the Western front.
It's been pretty quiet. I just don't feel like it's going to be pretty quiet for long. I've been reading some white papers that they're already trying to develop the 6G technology, at least the prereqs for it, right? So
are we finally going to get an upgrade to the scheduling on the networking side between 5G and 6G?
I certainly hope so.
The only comment I can make on that is it seems like, between like a 3G and 4G and 4G to 5G, there's about 16 to 17 revisions. I'm hoping that will speed up
each release or whatever.
Correct, for the 3GPP release. I'm hoping that will speed up. I know all the countries do use it, right? We're not trying to use the US is not the only one. So I think it'd be nice to maybe combine some releases and say, hey, we have the technology to do this, and just combine them. We just make the standards go a lot faster, because what happens is this: the 3GPP will release a standard and say, hey, okay, we're setting these standards and we expect this 5G technology, frequency, carrier aggregation, signal, blah, 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 to that it can do this, this, and this, and this. Then the carriers have to implement that. We actually have to write code, right? We have to write RF procedures. We have to have antenna radio designs. There's a lot of work that goes into producing the radio to 3GPP specs, as Ricky talked about, right? So like a 10 gig radio, right? That takes work. So it's just a lot of work. And I personally, right now, I don't think that the 3GPP people, the carriers, necessarily play all that well together. They need to, right? So it's just kind of a, who can get there first, type of mantra. And as we know, T-Mobile has been making a lot of claims about getting, this 5G first, this 5G data call, this 5G and our voice call first. It's about kind of, basically setting that standard and making the 3GPP, the data sets and the rules and everything, actualized, right? So,
hey, Zero Cool, I got an idea, and you might like this. We're gonna play a game. It's called Yes or No. Do you want to play?
I'll play.
All right. No radio. You want to play Yes or No?
Yeah.
EM Tech, B, you guys are in?
Yeah, man. Let's do it, man.
All right. We're gonna play a game of Yes or No. You must answer the questions yes or no. Okay. I'm gonna start with no radio. All right, no radio. On a T-Mobile hotspot mobile network, can you use these glasses and have a good experience?
Yes. Because you're going surface level as crap. It depends on the application is the real answer.
Okay. That's good. Okay, so you say yes. Can the T-Mobile home internet support this hardware, these goggles?
No.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. All right. I'm gonna ask you this now. Same questions for AT&T. Can the AT&T mobile network support these goggles?
Yes.
Can the Verizon network support these goggles?
Yes.
Can the Verizon fixed wireless 5G home internet support these goggles?
I don't have personal experience to give an answer.
Okay. EM Tech, your turn. Yes or no? Can the T-Mobile mobile network, hotspot, whatever, can it support these goggles?
No.
Can the T-Mobile home internet?
No.
Can the AT&T network support these goggles?
No.
Can the Verizon network support these goggles?
Not everywhere, so no.
Oh my God.
Not everywhere
Verizon,
is
Verizon 5G home.
That was
Yes.
hilarious.
All right, Zero Cool. You ready? Yes or no?
Yeah, I have my answers for all those.
Okay.
Actually, so basically, the only things that cannot support these VR Vision Pros are the home internets. For example, the T-Mobile home internet, the MiFi devices, routers for T-Mobile and Verizon. Small cell. It's all the rest of the stuff like the small cells, towers, DAS systems. That all can do it because you're getting like a gigabyte and up. So.
You're
Okay.
gonna throw the Verizon mmWave home internet product under the bus like that? I think it could handle it.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but
Well, I need to. I haven't really. I mean, it needs to be. I haven't heard like much consistency out of it. But we'll throw that in there too. We'll throw that in the yes, just because of the millimeter wave. That's it.
it has to be improved.
Just,
Let me get B in here then. B, it's your turn. These are yes or no questions. Can the T-Mobile mobile network support these glasses?
No,
Can their 5G home internet support it?
no,
Can the AT&T mobile network support it?
no,
Can the Verizon mobile network support it?
yes,
Can the 5G home from Verizon support it?
yes.
Okay. The Verizon 5G home, is there a certain technology that you feel could support it versus one that may not?
Millimeter wave and CBRS.
Not the C-band.
C-band as well. If it's carrier aggregated with CBRS.
Okay.
So where's that been?
Yeah, we need that.
Guys,
definitely need that.
they only have they've only got C-band deployed for like less than 14 months, or like
Yeah.
somewhere around 14 months.
No,
Yeah, we
I know.
need that.
I'm just making a joke.
All right, let's spin this around a little bit. I'm going to come back to no radio. All right, no radio. Home ISPs, can they support this?
fiber, yes.
Fiber, yes. So, can cable coaxial support this?
Not for another 2 or 3 years.
Can fixed wireless access support this?
If it's millimeter wave.
Can DSL support this?
No.
Oh my God.
All right, EM Tech, can cable coaxial support this?
Not until we get a high split. So, no.
So it's fiber or bust,
Fiber or bust or millimeter wave.
which is wireless fiber.
Yes, sir. I think my bonded T1 could handle it though.
How many bonds you got, bro? How many bonds you got? How many?
That's a lot.
Yeah, I think
That's a lot of
you
bonds.
could do a DS3. DS3 could handle it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
All right, Zero
That's it.
Cool. Is this fiber or bust? The technology needed?
It's. I'm gonna agree with the no radio's answers there. The things that can't really support is going to be your DSL and coax will get there. With high splits in a couple of years, but yeah, DSL and I would say anything like below like a gigabyte, right? I'm sorry, below a gigabyte cannot support it.
So all the fine folks who have mid-band 5G home internet, they're just out of luck.
They are, yes. It's not enough.
For the folks with DSL, they're out of luck. For the folks on coaxial, they're out of luck until they get these
Right.
4.0
The
upgrades.
DOCSIS 4.
Damn. You guys, what do you guys think of the latency requirements? How low does it have to go?
Ooh.
Sub 5 minimum.
Lower than what we're at now. I mean, if you think about the latency on the millimeter wave that Lotus has been testing, it's got to go way lower.
I don't know, man. My fiber is like sub 10 milliseconds. That's all I got.
Oh, but my coax is like 6.
I know.
I mean, I would say about 2 to 5 is the sweet spot.
I don't even have that, and I have fiber. I've seen people show me 0 millisecond latency on fiber. I couldn't relate, dog. Couldn't relate.
Yeah, but you gotta remember that's just your ping to wherever that server's hosted. It's gotta be your end-to-end latency from wherever the content's hosted, right? So.
Well, the nice thing is like the loaded latency is like 20 millisecond. For downstream, and then like upstream it's like 19 or something. So it's like super low. I don't know if I even have any measurable jitter. See, that's another thing I would think that you're gonna have to basically have 0 jitter, right? Any type of instability to the connection is gonna cause, frame drops and all this other nonsense that's gonna happen.
Right.
In
Yeah.
experience. All right, guys. Good stuff, man. Great show. Thank you guys for coming on. Big shout out to No Radio, EM Tech, Zero Cool. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming on and hanging out and discussing these topics. We went on for over an hour, which is great. And, for those of you who caught this on the live, thank you guys for stopping by. And then to everybody watching this on replay crew, thank you as well. We will do a show tomorrow. We're going to stick more to like the telco. There's a couple of stories that are developing out of T-Mobile that we'll have some news tomorrow. And we'll bring them to the forefront on the live stream as well. So we'll see who comes back to the panel. We'll be discussing those topics. Thanks, gents. Appreciate you all. Thanks for the super chats and everybody for giving me a like on this video. Please do share it. That helps out the channel. And of course, if you're looking for a really good deal on your wireless service, we've got the promotion right now through Mint. mintmobile.com/sneed. All plans are $15. And if you want to support us, you can buy us a coffee. Thanks, everyone. We out this piece.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, guys.